Alright, how's everybody doing? Let me turn down the music just a little bit. Just a little bit quieter. Let's see. That look good? Yeah, that's maybe a little bit louder. Yeah? Yeah, let's do that. And let me hug myself a little bit too, that'll probably help. Let's see, that better? A little bit better? Yeah. Better? Yes? Maybe just get closer. That always helps. Yeah, how's everybody doing this weekend? Enjoying it? No, I am. I'm excited to figure out what's going to happen with Lia and Omer. Like, we kind of left off the last session in a kind of weird spot. They've got a lot of things going on, and none of them are particularly helpful or in their benefit. Oh, and of course, thank you for joining us. But if this is the first time that you've caught one of these streams, well, we're on. This is technically episode 11. So there's some backstory about our companions and characters. We're playing a D&D 5th edition solo RPG, and this is our 11th session. We've mainly what you've missed is prologue. We've made it to the city that kind of kicks off our major quest, which is we received a letter from a former academic companion to our main character, Lia and Omer, and about some research from her previous academy that she worked at before she was sort of disgraced and kind of cast out of that community. And Omer's accompanying her. He is also another one of these disgraced academics from her research team. Anyways, they had received a letter from Harold, who was a librarian at their old institution, and she showed up to find out that he was unfortunately already dead. And we went through the hijinks of the prologue, and now we're back to Karjunton, which is the main city that has the academy in it, the conservatory. And Lia and Omer have been trying to get access to the conservatory, Riverside Conservatory, pretty unsuccessfully so far. And they got wrapped up in other things. Now they're busy working on community service, and that led them to this new dragon incident, which is what we had ended with last time. And how that might be related to the second undead we've come across since we've been in town. The second guest we've come across in less than a week, in just a few days. So let's go ahead and hop over so you guys can see what I'm looking at. Let's do that. There we go. Alright. So yeah, you can see sort of on the right there, sort of where we are. So as far as we know, Omer has promised to help the silver wyrmling that Norcruth had hired us out of our community service to sort of protect and babysit. And then everything went down. The buyer who was showing up to potentially buy this silver wyrmling was aghast with some henchmen, so we don't really know what's going on with that. And then negotiations broke down. There was a fight. Norcruth and the Ghast end up fleeing the scene. And Omer, of course, is sympathetic. We knew that already from how he wanted to deal with the water elemental. So, and we still have to get back for the new community service muster, because we still have quite a bit of our debt to society for manslaughter to pay off. Unfortunate situation we're in. But we do have some time, so we're kind of picking up exactly where we left off last time. So we at this point have completed our community service through Norcruth's sort of payment of the contract. So we're going to have to show up. Lia and Omer are going to have to show up for the community service muster in the morning. But they still have to do something with this wyrmling. And it's only a amount of time before either Norcruth or that gas come back to get it. And so Omer has agreed to help it get out of the city. And we don't know how that's going to happen, and we're going to need to try to figure that out. We have to be at the morning muster for our community service, or bad things happen. And we're already in bad with the law at this point. So we don't want to skip that, because that's gonna be really, really bad for Lia and Omer, and that's gonna get them further away from their overall objective, which is obviously getting inside Riverside Conservatory, which is already a place that they're not really allowed access to, due to their status as sort of disgraced researchers. So that's where we're picking up. So we've got some things to do. So we're kind of stuck in this warehouse, which we're pretty sure Norcruth didn't rent. So somebody else owns this warehouse, so somebody else could show up at some point. We know the gas is going to come back. We know Norcruth is going to come back. But we need to find out, so we've got sort of our top bullet points. We've got to help the wyrmling escape. We have to find out if Arias got our message, because he did not show up for the muster, and that's why we got stuck with Norcruth. So we want to see if there's a response note back at the inn for Lia and Omer. And then we have to do the next muster, which means that they're going to have to leave the location, but they obviously can't leave the location with a dragon in tow, because that's going to cause even more problems for them. Now, the question that I have been thinking about, and I didn't know off the top of my head, so I need to go back and look, is... Okay, so they can fly. I don't know, what do we think the odds are of a... Well, they're knowledgeable, so... Sorry, both these people study this thing, so rather than do that, we're gonna make our first roll of the evening, or afternoon for me. We're gonna give them advantage, and this is just gonna be straight up knowledge intelligence roll. And I'm gonna give them proficiency for that, because that's sort of dragons and primordials are specifically their area of research, and we already know that Lia has very, very hands-on knowledge with dragons before, because she rolled a natural 20 earlier when we were trying to figure that out. So here's what I want to know. Oh yeah, so they're definitely going to know. 18 plus 5. So with the 23, she knows whether this wyrmling can be left alone. Or why... With her knowledge, can this wyrmling just fly out of the city? That's what we need to know. So I don't know the answer to that. So I can't really say... That sounds likely to me, though. So I'm going to say a +3, especially because we know it's probably getting close to evening on that third day now. Alright, well, that's a 5, so the answer is no. Why can't this thing... So why can't this wyrmling just fly out of here? And I guess maybe these are just more oracle questions for us, because we don't really know the answer. Is it because... when the ghast attacked it and was fighting it, did it get its wings injured and it can't fly? That seems pretty reasonable. Yeah. So that's the answer. The answer is yes. That's why. And actually, I rolled a 12. I didn't say it was a +3, so I didn't know. Yeah, I don't want to retroactive that because I didn't say it up front. So 12 means that there's also some sort of hindrance that we get because of that. So not only can... So... I don't know if a hindrance works here, because I was really just asking an information thing. And that itself is our answer that we got out of it is already a hindrance. So I'm just gonna say that the hindrance of that is not only so the wyrmling's wings are injured, so it can't fly, and it's not going to. This is not an issue that we can magically quick fix. Like, this is going to be a natural rest sort of situation. Like, it's got some bone and maybe some ligament kind of problems, but not just a basic healing spell. We don't have those anyways. I mean, we do have a healing potion. I guess we can feed that to it, but this is not a simple, like, we can go grab a cleric that can cast a cure wounds and this thing can then fly out of here. It's not going to be that simple of a fix. Okay, so the answer is that, yeah, we can get it out of here, but we're going to have to do it by terrestrial means, or aquatic means, because we are in the Keys. We are very close to the riverboats. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be easier for them to smuggle it out by a cart, or try to smuggle it out maybe on a boat through the city. I feel like boats probably have a lot more scrutiny, so maybe a cart would be simpler. Alright, but that means that somebody's going to have to go check for messages, so... Because Arias could help them potentially with this issue too. It might be much easier to move a dragon around the city if the conservatory is attached to it, which would make more sense because they would. So maybe. All right, so that means there's only one way to find out if we get a message from Arias, and that's that somebody's got to go to the inn to see if Arias sent them a message. So I think we have to send Omer for that, because I think Lia, as the more competent combatant, is the one that needs to stay with the injured wyrmling to protect him. So this is going to be a little bit of an Omer adventure just to kick off, and then we'll see while Omer's gone if something happens. Alright, so actually let's do that now. Alright, so they're going to make a run. Omer's like, yeah, I'll go make a run for the inn. I'll see if there's a message from Arias. And if not, maybe I'll be able to track him down. And maybe he can help us. So they agree, and Omer takes off. So I just want to roll a d12 to see if anything happens while Omer's on his way to the inn. 5. No. So something only happens if we roll a 1 or we roll a 12. So nothing happens. He gets to the inn. So then that's just going to be a straight up oracle question. I think he hits the bar, or whoever's the innkeeper, and asks if, you know, any message has arrived for himself or Lia. And I don't know. Do we think that that's likely that Arias has sent it? No, because we don't know why Arias wasn't at the muster. And wasn't late, so we have no clue. So it's just a flat roll. 5. Alright, there's no message from Arias. So, what's Omer gonna do? Would Omer go directly back to Lia, or would he... I guess here's the question. Here's a good question. Does Arias know... Or, does Arias know? Does Omer know where Arias lives? No. Alright. So he doesn't know how to send a message to Arias' home. He doesn't know... He can't access the conservatory to get to Arias' office. Or, I mean, technically he has the cloak. He could attempt that. It's no longer the weekend, so... But it is later on. We did say that it was basically approaching dusk at this time. But Omer did work with Arias and work with that department, so does he know? Is Arias known to stay late at his office? No, man. You know, this is the second session that we've tried to do stuff with Arias. Arias just not want to be in this game as an NPC, which is fine. Maybe clearly there's something going on with Arias. That's what we feel like. Maybe Arias is a new disappeared person. That would be ominous. But we don't have anything that's going to give us any input on that yet. So the only other person that I can think of that Omer would know who could assist him would be that the butcher that was at the inn who was making deliveries. Is that butcher still in the inn? So I guess he goes and he asks the innkeeper about this person, because they would have a card and they can move around the city pretty easily. 11. So that signal's interrupted. Let's get an answer though. I do want an answer. Let's go with this one. 13. Yes. Okay. But we did have an interrupt scene, so let's find out what our interrupt scene is. Who does this have to deal with? 19. Some extraordinary trap or trick. That interrupts him asking about that. I have no clue what that would be. Well, that could be our object too, so some sort of extraordinary trick or trap. Take an extraordinary trick or trap. Nope, we rolled a few dice and none of those results really kind of jumped up at me for anything, so I'm just going to leave it. So there wasn't an interruption, and that's sort of what happens with these interrupted scenes. If you roll stuff in a GM Oracle like that for an interrupted scene, like most Oracle systems will tell you, like, don't dwell on it too much. If you roll something and a thing really kind of jumps to mind as a possibility, you can either re-roll or just be like, nothing happens. So there was no interrupted scene because I didn't like any of the things that happened. It didn't really make sense for a magical trap or something like that to go off in the end, I didn't think. Not at this point. Because none of the bad guys would have had time to run over here and do a trick or trap or something like that, so. Not that. Alright, so finds out that... Alright, so the butcher's in there. So he goes and Omer finds the butcher and asks the butcher, can you help us move something out of the town? I'm not sure how much Omer tells him. It's just like, hey, we've got a sensitive cargo that we're trying to get out of town, and we know that the butcher's already was kind of open to sort of bending some rules. So how do we feel? Well, I guess that was before. Yeah, so he was kind of going to sneak them on. So I'm gonna make it a little bit likely. I think it's +3 because he's already shown. Well, the stakes are much higher than that was, so I'm just gonna make a flat roll. All right, 19. But the guy's on board. Butcher absolutely is like, sure, I can do it. But obviously the butcher's gonna have a price. So butcher agrees to help. I assume. Are they setting out tomorrow? That's a good question. Let's figure that out. I hope so. 10. Again, that would be another interrupted scene, so let's roll again. 4. Nope, not moving out tomorrow though. So that kind of screws them as a plan. And how much do we want to get paid for this? This is good. So I'm just going to use. So I'm using my DM's notebook here, because I have in here just some sort of money kind of stuff. It's gonna be kind of good. So let's see. So currency. So we're in a D10 and a D20. So D10 and D20. So wants 5 copper pieces. That's it. Well, that's what I rolled. He'd be like, I'll do it for 5 copper pieces. I guess probably because he probably doesn't make any other money, and he knows that Lia and Omer are kind of hard up, or maybe Omer just really lays it on thick and is able to sort of beg/persuade him. But okay, so if that's the case, can we even use that thing? Here's the thing, they're going to have to go to the muster, and if they go to the muster, nobody's going to be watching the wyrmling, which is when probably Norpruth will try to take wyrmling back. I mean, the gas probably not going to run around during the daytime. you know, probably in the middle of the streets, the gas running around is probably a good way to die, so probably not going to do that. Okay, so I think Omer will take that. I think he will just straight up pay the guy already. You know, Omer's got a little bit of money, so... And I'd say that because there are 2 people involved, he would... Yeah, would at least ask that much, so let's go ahead and bust that down to that, and then... 9. And then we'll just go ahead and give him the 1 silver pieces. I think it's actually electric that I put that on. It should be silver pieces. He just gives the butcher the full silver piece. Anyways, yeah, so that's so he's gonna give the butcher the coin to at least hold the idea, and then I think Homer's gonna make his way back from the inn to the warehouse, because that still gives them sort of some issues. Let's do another D12 roll. Let's see if anything happens while people are moving around. No, but just barely. Alright, so it's probably definitely night by now. Sun's gone down. You know, torches are lit up on the streets as people walk around, lanterns, sort of thing. And Omer shows back up at the warehouse. So right now they're sort of in the safe, but they've got to do something before the muster. They've got to get this thing moved and doing something. And to some sort of safe location, get it hidden, get something done to it. So, it's a little loud even for me. Better. Yeah, so there's one other person that I think that they can reach out to, and that's because Lia has another contact in this city. Let's go down here. Let's get to her. I think you see groupings. Alright, actually, let me pull Omer. So we have one other person that I think is in here, and that's Kamel, which is sort of Lia's on and off again, sort of hot and cold boyfriend girlfriend kind of situation they've had for a long time. And he is a poet, and we know that he lives in the city. So we could send a message to Kamel. Would she do that, or would Lia try to go in person? I think she feels like she probably has a better opportunity of being able to convince Kamel if she goes there. Goes to him in person. So I think that I'm just gonna make that an oracle roll, because I think she would, but that's a very head and heart thing. So I think she would want to go, because she likes Kamel, obviously, and would like to see him because she's in the city and she hasn't yet, even though she's been here many days now. But also, she knows if she leaves just Omer here to protect the wyrmling, that they're in significantly more damage, or more danger. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna make it an oracle roll. Does she go to see him in person? No. All right. So her head wins out, and she really wants to go, but she's like, I assume that she probably gives Omer directions how to get to his at least last known location as far as Lee is concerned, and probably asks him to come to the warehouse, and probably ask him to bring a cart if he can. And then she wouldn't want. She knows that this will endanger Kamel, so I don't think she wants Omer and Kamel to split up. So Go see if you can get Camille. If he has a cart, that's great, or can get a cart and come back here. Okay. Alright, so obviously Omer's out on doing TaskRabbit errands again. So let's roll a d12 and let's see if anything happens while he's running off to Camille's house. 1. Okay, yeah, so something happens. 1, I believe, is an encounter. Let me double check my own rules, but I'm pretty sure that's right. Not too far. Yeah, it's an encounter. Alright, so the question is this an encounter for Omer, or is this an encounter for Lia and the wyrmling? So I'm going to roll a d6 to decide who, and only on the 1 or 2 is it Omer. Otherwise, it's going to be at the warehouse. Okay, it's going after Omer. Alright, so it's a random city encounter. The question is it one of our... Is it one of the groups that we know is interested in us? And is interested in dragons. So I guess that's what we want to know. Is it one of the aforementioned parties of Norcruthen? No. So the answer is no. Alright. So if it's not that... Is it undead? Because clearly we've come across some undead already. Yeah, alright. So it's an undead. Alright, so let's do this. So we'll go over here to our Kobold Fight Club, and we want some undead. Native environment, I mean, we're technically in an urban environment. Let's do that. Alright, so we're making something for... Alright. So usually that's not going to give us a lot of options, I don't feel like. Alright, so it's an undead. I already dealt with some zombies. Okay. So it'd have to be like 1. So we can handle like 1 quarter CR. So it's either a skeleton or a zombie, right? Let's just roll for it. If it's low, it's skeleton. Alright, it's zombie. So he gets attacked by a zombie. Let's go ahead and put that in here. In our handy dandy stat block. That would have been a lot easier. There we go. Alright, so the zombies are relatively easy creatures. The hard thing about them is that they get back up sometimes. But they're also slow. Certainly slower than Omer. So yeah, I think Omer's run down. He's taking a shortcut through an alley. We don't have to worry as much about Omer getting lost. Like I said, like Lia, he's lived in Karjunton for a while. So he's not that, but he is sort of like getting, you know, his directions and bearings as he's sort of like moving through the city at night. And then that's when he's probably maybe taking a shortcut through a side street or something like that, and that's when this zombie kind of comes out and grabs at him. Alright, so if that's the situation, let's get initiative for Omer. Is he gonna get the jump on this thing? Yeah, I mean, obviously. It's a zombie. So maybe that's it. So he sees the zombie first, right? As he's sort of passing through, probably like one of those sort of small green areas where it's like the back of 4 buildings, kind of in a little intersection, kind of a little garden, common area, green space. And there's, you know, one random zombie that's sort of toiling around. And I mean, right, we've all seen zombie movies and media like that. It's like you can pretty well tell when you see that creature, even if it's just the silhouette of it in the night, and the, you know, the groaning sort of sounds that it makes, that, you know, that's a zombie. They're pretty easy to ID. So I think he sees it. So Omer's not a we've talked about this before. Omer's not a particularly combat-oriented sidekick. That's not really what he's for. And that wasn't really his intent. He is a sage. He's sort of an academic. He's not much of a fighter. More of a thinker. So I think Omer would try to sneak around this thing rather than just go up and try to attack it. So let's give him a little sneaky sneak. We'll use. So it only has to be an 8, right? Their passive perception is only an 8. I'm gonna actually that may not pass. That may not pass because he's got zeros in almost everything, including stealth. He's not trained in stealth. So that 7 does not beat the 8 DC, and he's almost through. I think he likes sneaking around. There's probably like some barrels and crates and stuff like that he's kind of sneaking around. And this zombie, and then as he does, he's gonna step on a rake and smack himself in the face as he's sort of exiting the green area. And that's when this zombie kind of turns around and finally sort of clocks him. And we'll start chasing him, I guess. Alright. Does the zombie... I just need to know a yes or no. Does the zombie get to him moving in 1 turn so he can still take an action? Yep. It is right on top of him. It's really only because, Omer got very close to the zombie because he had to sort of squeeze through the area to get to the next side street. And yeah, so then this thing's on top of him, and we'll take an attack. I know an 8 does not hit Omer. Alright, then it's Omer's turn. I think Omer really probably doesn't want to fight this thing. I don't blame him. I wouldn't want to fight a zombie either. Especially because I don't... Well... Got a sling. Yeah, so he will sort of disengage. He'll use his action to disengage. And then sort of move away, and he's going to prepare his sling. Unfortunately, it's the zombie's turn. That means they're going to have to spend their action to basically dash so they can get to Omer, and is right on top of Omer again. So I think Omer's going to dash. So he can get away, and I think that's probably going to put him back out onto a main street at this point. But this thing will get an attack opportunity on him. And we'll roll the same thing and miss. Alright, and then it will move its full movement, which will not catch up to his dash, so he still has another 20 feet. And then he will sling a bolt at it. And there is the sound of panes of glass shattering as he slings a sling bullet right into somebody's window. A dog starts barking crazily in the distance. Lights start turning on, lighting things. And see him. Does anybody, since that was a 1, is there anybody else on the street? We should ask that. No, it's just him. Okay. So there weren't any nearby guards or anything. So he slings his bullet and then he moves away, which moves him 50 feet away. So then the thing will make its entire move, and then that only leaves him with 10 feet of distance. He will, I guess, try to sling again at this thing. Alright, I'm pretty sure that hits. I don't think these guys are very difficult to hit. No. I'll take a d4 damage. one point of damage. Right, takes 1 point of damage from its 22 hit points. Alright, great job. Again, not really a fighting character, right? I think that's coming across very clearly. Alright, so the zombie has 21 hit points. Woof! And then it's its turn. Of course, Omer would move away again. That'll be 40. It'll be right on top of him again. Which makes it back to Omer's turn. I think Omer's like, yeah, I just gotta run away from this thing. Hopefully if I break line of sight. But, I just use my sling at it and barely seem to do anything. I think he's gonna get out of dodge if he can. So he's gonna make a full dash, so he's gonna full run. The zombie will get an attack opportunity. Hasn't hit you Hasn't hit him yet, but will hit him now. And does D6. Okay, D6 plus 2. Or plus 1. Oh, that's not good. Alright, and Omer goes from... Oh, that's right, because he was still hurt from the last time. You know what? I would have said that they would have definitely taken a short rest. So I'm going to go ahead and give him those hit points back, because he probably would have gotten 2 hit points back. So we've gone from 8 down to 5, so he's at 3 hit points. Sorry, that's my fault. I definitely kind of thought we did the short rest already, but obviously we did not. I forgot about it. That's okay. So yeah, he's going to run. He's probably going to be able to turn a corner. I don't think there's... Like, if you just decide to run away from a zombie in 5e, because the zombies are so slow, so that I figure if you can break the corner and break line of sight, that it's going to lose interest very quickly. Especially if nobody else is on the street, apparently. So we're going to give him another hide check, this time with advantage. And with that 9, he barely passes it. Like, there's definitely a moment where he's like down on his butt in like an alleyway, like behind a barrel, and you know we have the shot of, like, the zombie like looking over the barrel like. And Omer's just like, but we are able to pass. Omer's able to at least avoid dying in this fight, which was good. That could have gone very badly for him. But he does end up making it to Camille. Is Camille at... I assume she sent him to his home. Is he at home? Yeah. He's absolutely at home. He's actually walking right out of the door as soon as Omer kind of shows up, kind of breathless. And I'm sure that she gave him like a note or something to show that it's actually from Lia. And Omer kind of starts to explain the situation. It's like, do you have a cart? We're trying to get this thing out of town. So we rolled a 20, so that should give us some sort of edge. And so let's go ahead and roll for that edge now. 5. Alters an existing plot thread. Converges or regresses. Okay, so let's look at our plot thread. So I'm not sure what that's going to have to do with our ongoing plot threads, but we have a number here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I guess I should probably put 7 in there now, because we also have the 7th, which is let's put liberating. It's liberating the dragon wyrmling. Alright, so we have 7 sort of major ones, and then we have a bunch of sub ones. Let's roll a d8 and see kind of which one it's going to have to deal with. So 4. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, something about Lia's previous tragedy, and somehow that's wrapped up into this. Now it said they could alter this, or converge it, or regress it. Something that... There's something that... I'm just trying to think, does Camille have some sort of, like, medicinal thing, or is it just comfort of having Camille around that sort of would reduce this nightmare about having that previous tragedy? I mean, it's definitely gonna converge. Let's just go with the conversion. Like, obviously, Camille's gonna be very confused because Leah supposedly swore off adventuring, you know, after everything that's happened. And I don't know, I think he's happy about that, because it seems like if she's doing it again, it means like maybe she's healing over it somehow, some bit. If she used to be like a full stop no, and now she's like, no, this is an important task, which Omer's sort of wrapped her in, and that she's participating in. So I think he's happy about that. So I think that he'll definitely bring that up with Leah. Yeah, so I guess we should make. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this sort of a nightmare about the previous tragedy, and this is going to be sort of a challenge to get over. Using something that is very similar to It's not technically a 5e mechanic. It's technically, I think the first place that I saw it used was in Index Card RPG. And it kind of works sort of like a skill challenge, just that instead of putting in specifically like successes or failures like you do with a skill challenge, instead of having one DC, it's sort of like a larger DC that you sort of chip at with ability tests. So I think that's what I want to do here. So I'm going to set, let's get a DC, and then I'm going to set that DC by, I guess like 5. And that'll measure sort of Leah getting over this sort of issue about it. Sort of because it's a very internal conflict. So let's set a DC for. Oh, well, alright. That DC is 19. So 19 times 5, which is almost 100, right? So that's 95, right? Yeah, 95. Okay, so I thought it would not be quite that high. Alright, so nightmare about previous ravage. So out of 95. And it's going to be charisma. Charisma usually represents, personality and something like that, rather than perception or insight. I mean, you could argue, maybe it would be an insight check, which she's notoriously bad at. Sure, and yeah, let's make it an insight check. Is it an insight check or a wisdom saving throw? I guess it would be whichever's probably better for her. It's not really gonna matter either way. That helps if I'm looking at the right sheet. I mean, she's got proficiency in both. So, yeah, let's make this she has it in wisdom, so let's make it a wisdom saving throw. So she's going to have some progression there. It's like, just because we're marking it only now because now is the first time that it's sort of shown itself, or somebody who's known her, who has seen her sort of getting over that. And obviously that also probably comes from killing some people too. Like, by her own hand. Alright, so let's just give her a straight up wisdom save. She's got a +1 to it. He's like, I can see that there's been a change, but it's a small change. Alright. But he's definitely going to help us. So the question is does Camille have a way to get his hands on a cart? No, but we got a little edge here for rolling a 9. Did I just roll another 9? Or did this? I think so. I can't tell if it did anything or not because I wasn't looking at the screen when I clicked. I'm going to assume it went. Receive news of off-screen progress or setback. Alright, so something has progressed. Is it something in this adventure itself? No. Alright, so something else. Some other plot thread here has advanced. Maybe we'll roll the same thing. No. It's gonna be out of 7. 5. What was 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, so we found out some news about the cult in Karjunton. Is this good news for us? That seems like a fair question. Is this good news for us? Yes. So I think what we find out is during this discussion. Sorry, just gonna move things over. That this cult is, I think, probably the best. The thing that comes to my mind is how that would be helpful for what we're doing right now. Is that I think that the cult is also fighting the undead portion, right? Because that's a weird thing that we found out about. They are also the undead in Karjunton. So Camille has some insight on that. He's like, oh, that's interesting. And then you had a corrupted Myrmidon in the area they were also in. Very interesting. So remember when we said, so if you guys have been watching along, you know that we talked about when we were first dealing with the cult back in Split Valley Oasis, that the cult itself, cults by nature, the negative part of that is very modern interpretation. Cults just kind of meant sort of like a fractional following of usually a much larger already sourced religion, in the same way that we kind of think about, you might think about different dogmas of church, of like Christianity as being cults of Christianity, sort of. I mean, it's not quite the same, because cults usually mean a quite small group, but similar. The idea is that they don't cult by its definition in the setting, because I'm using the more historical sort of idea of cults, is that cult doesn't have all that negative baggage and connotations that come with that word in our modern interpretation of it. You could think of like the Knights Templar or something like that as being a cult, because they're an order. All right. So yeah. So we find out that sort of information, which is really interesting. And you know, Leah's gonna get over that nightmare stuff at some point. Just not soon. All right. So, but we did learn that he does not have a cart. So. Do they know how to contact the cult? Because that was the new information we got. Do they know how to contact the cult? Yes. Okay. So they'll go try to talk to the cult about this, maybe give them some of the information about what's going on. So that'll be Camille and Omer going to do their thing. And then, you know, Leah's kind of sidelining right now because she can't really leave the wyrmling. But as they travel, because this is obviously a very important thing that they need to do now, let's see if something happens. No. All right. So they get to wherever the cult is being held up right now. We haven't talked about exactly what kind of cult. So obviously the cult fights undead. Is that... Is that... I want to ask if that's their primary thing, but I don't think that is their primary thing. Let me bring some more music up real quick. Since ours finally ended, let's sorry, let me grab this real quick and then we'll get back to it. Let's do... Is this the one we were just doing? Maybe. Yeah, that's fine. Let's grab it anyways. Oop. Alright, sorry about that. So we don't really know anything about the cult at this point. Except that obviously they're also interested in the undead threat that's challenging the city, and they were around where the corrupted Myrmidon was. and they were bathing in that water. So that may be something that we kind of get into, which we haven't really dealt with making any sort of gods or pantheon for the world because we weren't playing a religious character. But if we have a cult, that means that we probably need to figure out something about the cult. I'm not going to do that right now, but I am going to put sort of as a note down here for myself. Because I have ways to do it. Obviously, if you guys, you can see down at the bottom that we have reddragonfiend.com, which is a website where I do a bunch of blogs and things like that, and have for a long time about D&D and other tabletop RPGs, both for solo play and for normal sort of in-person or over the internet play. And I definitely have a world building series that we've been going through, and part of that deals with making gods and pantheons. So I'm gonna leave myself a little note in comments here to be like, let's make a deity for the cult, for the cultists. So that's just a note for myself to do. And then I'll do that probably in between sessions. All right. So we have that they're going there. They show up. Are these guys going to help us? Now, Leah has had very, very minor interaction with them before, but it wasn't with the people who are in Karjunton. It was at the Split Valley Oasis people. So they're not going to have any name recognition. But so I think it's just 50-50. Are they going to help? Will they supply a cart and or help them with this dragon situation? No. Not only no, it's a natural one. Which means heck no. In fact, they're going to make something kind of difficult for us. Man, we're just not getting through in the clutch roll these past few games. We're really kind of throwing a whole bunch of monkey wrenches, a whole bunch of spanners in the work. All right. So introduce a new plot thread. All right, so we're gonna get a new plot thread for the cultists. Which we have down here. They're also fighting the undead Karjunton. And they're also doing something else. And this is kind of in direct opposition of whatever we're doing. I don't know if that's they don't want us to interact. Again, we have that idea that maybe it also has something to do with the slaver's affliction, right? So maybe they're also trying to protect people from getting sick. But we don't know that yet. We need to make some rolls. Sweet, sweet dinner rolls. Alright, 13. Some sort of ordinary location. Okay. To destroy or slay. Extraordinary object. Okay, yeah. I think I got it. So I think that the ordinary location, I think is I wanted to put something that's in opposition of Omer and Leah. So I think that the normal location that we're talking about is Riverside Conservatory. And I think they want to destroy an extraordinary object. So there's something that's being studied or experimented on in Riverside Conservatory that the cult wants destroyed. An item or object of Riverside, and it's an extraordinary item. And what extraordinary item means is that it usually just means magical, or it's something out of the ordinary, right? It's extraordinary. Alright, and it's specifically an item or object. It's not a piece of information. It's not some sort of hazard. It's not a trap. It's not a creature. It's not some sort of like belief or creed or doctrine. Like, this is specifically an item. So it's probably a magic item. So I think the follow-up question is, does that item have anything to do with the undead? So let's ask some follow-up questions. Does it have anything to do with the undead? Nope, not at all. Does it have something to do with the dragon? No. It does not. Okay. And I just rolled that. Thanks. Alright, so it doesn't have anything to do with the undead. It's gotta be like something profane then, right? Ooh, maybe it's another cursed item. Right, we've already got a cursed item with us, or at least Lia does. Does it have to deal with that? Yes, okay. So that's another magically cursed item. Okay, which kind of... Do we want to just kind of go down the magic item? Let's kind of roll up a magic item real quick that they want destroyed. I'm not quite sure how destroying a magic item would be in opposition to getting the dragon out of here, though. I mean, the only way I can see is that it's in opposition because it's something they need the cart for. So it's something they need the cart for. So let's roll sort of be like a magic item. Alright, so it's a d20 per tier. We're obviously in the first adventure tier, levels 1 through 4. Alright, 20. It's something uncommon. But what kind of item is it? Alright. Let's go to dungeon. Let's see what dungeon says. This didn't help me really much at all. I thought it would, but it's actually not. So let's go to dungeon, because I think the thing is that like most magic items wouldn't require a cart to move. That's sort of what's going to mean. Now, we're thinking very much like standard D&D magic items, which, you know, obviously not the case. And not going to help me out today. Not displaying very well. Rarity, uncommon. What sort of wondrous items do we have? Trying to think of, see if anything jumped out as being large enough that would require a cart. Because other than the apparatus of, what is it, Qualish? Like, there aren't that many magic items that you can't just hold in your hand. I mean, it definitely could be... an arcane grimoire. I mean, that would be good. That'd be really helpful for us. But I don't know. I don't think we just said that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I mean, there's 9 here. Let's just roll a d10. Or we'll use this d10 that we had already rolled. How about that? That's even better. That's even more random. Okay, so it's some sort of ring. So we're gonna have to come up with a reason why. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, let's roll a d6. What kind of ring is this? 3. A ring of swimming. Okay. So it's like a cursed ring of swimming. So let's say want this. Oh, well, we said cursed, but we made that up. We didn't roll anything for that. And I think it makes more sense. Okay, so they don't want the cursed ring of swimming. They want, this is like a religious item for them. This is like a relic. This has important meaning to them as a cult. That clearly has something to do specifically with their cult. So it's not that it's cursed. That's the problem. But why do they need the cart for it? Because we saw that they did bathing. So clearly that's something, their cult has something to do with water. That's where they saw them, is they were bathing in the waters at Split Valley Oasis. But I want to find out, why does it take? The only thing I can think of is that they've got it locked and or warded up into some sort of massive structure. Right, it's one of those things for me that's like when you see criminals when they're like, we have to rip the ATM machine out and then we'll take the ATM machine away and then we'll empty it of cash. Right? It's that the thing cannot be removed very easily. The ring cannot be removed very easily from what it's rests in. So it must be locked in some sort of like heavy display case or something. Okay. And we don't really need to write that down. Okay, but that's what they wanted, and that's why we can't use the card. I'll just say that's why we can't use the card. Alright, so Omer's gonna try to make a deal. So obviously, I think Omer's like, look, well, we understand that the ring's very important to you, and that sounds like a very difficult job. Now, I can tell you that Lia and myself, we are very familiar with Observatory. We know exactly the item that you're talking about. We know exactly where it is. And we know exactly how to get access to it, or how we would be able to get access to it when we were, working there. And as Omer say, we will help you get that ring if we can use your cart now, and you will help us get this dragon out of here. Because they don't care about the dragon. That's not what this cult's about. They have something to do with water. Well, that's a good question. Are they interested in the cursed Myrmidon? I don't think we rolled for that. We rolled for the dragon, we rolled for the undead. Are they interested in the cursed Myrmidon armor? I think that's probably highly likely. I don't know why he would bring that up right now, though. Alright, so I'm gonna make him... He's gonna make a persuasion test. Come on, Omer. 16. Plus your... You don't actually have persuasion as a skill. So, 17. 17. Alright. That's pretty good. Does that convince them? Oh, yeah, nice. DC's 4. We absolutely demolished that DC. They're like, yeah, I mean, absolutely. I assume they've probably been like slamming their heads against the wall about like, how are we going to get this stupid thing out of the conservatory because it's locked in this big, huge thing. It's probably got magical wards on it too, if it's in there, too. Because right, you have to protect it from magic users, and we do know that there are magic users on the premises as students and faculty. So it's probably got all sorts of wards on it. So that's arranged. Do we need Camille for anything at that point? I mean, other than... Alright, do they split up because they're gonna have the cart. Will they also supply the mule? We have a mule to use, that's why I had originally only had Lia ask for the cart, because she's like, I've got a mule in the tag. I can, in a pinch, just get that out the door. But now that we're sort of meeting up with another organization, if they've got a cart, they clearly probably have something to pull that cart. So I think it's likely, I know for certain that they have the animal to do it. Will they let us take the animal to do it? Yes, they will. Perfect. Will they even send us some helpers? That'd be nice. No, they're like, man, we're not sending you any helpers, though. You get the cart and the mule, you can get it outside. Do they have anything that would help us get it outside? Like maybe a work order or something like that? We could say it's something religious or something of that nature, so the guards aren't checking the cart on the way out. Yes, okay, cool. So they are going to do that for us. They'll give us probably some religious robes to wear. Be like, oh, we'll give you, this cover for this. We'll give you something to help cover it up, like sacramental wine or something like that, oils or things like that. That's the reason why they're leaving the city, is to take this somewhere. And, probably not going to get a lot of stir from the guards for that. Perfect. Alright, so they travel back. They've got their cart. They've got their mule. Does anything happen before they get back to the warehouse? No. Alright, they get there. Camille sees Lia. Lia sees Camille. Has Camille seen Lia since she got her scar? I would assume so. I think that's highly likely. +5. 6? No. And so I think that, they sort of see each other, they kind of briefly sort of embrace, and then I think he just sort of, kind of touches her face. And, he seems very, very worried for her. She probably... I don't know, how do we think Lia responds to that? Lia's not very happy about that scar, I don't think. So I think she probably pushes away a little bit. I think she's not embarrassed about it or feels ashamed about it in front of most people, but she probably does feel a little ashamed about the scar in front of, her on and off again lover. And I think Omer kind of watches them and is like, yeah, so I'm gonna go get the dragon sorted. Alright, again, they can speak with the dragon, so that's not an issue. And even as a wyrmling, the dragons got a 12 intelligence, right? They're not dumb. I know that for certain. Let's go back this way. I'm pretty sure we looked this up last time. Dragon turtle, silver dragon wyrmling. Yeah, they've got a 12 intelligence. They got a +1. So it's pretty easy to probably tell them. Does the thing agree with them? I think it's probably highly likely. It kind of has to rely on the kindness of strangers. No, why? Silver dragon wyrmling, help me, help you. Help me, help you. Alright, so wyrmling's pissy about something about the card. So I'm going to give Lia the opportunity to sort of calm it down. Using persuasion, obviously, she's going to get help from Omer. Alright, that's what, a Oh, that's quite good. So 21. So 21 roll, Leah. So will that convince? That will. That's a 16 DC. So he was upset about it. She kind of talked him down. Was like, "Hey, look, it's not. We understand that this can seem disrespectful or sort of demeaning, but this is a matter of survival, and the needs must. And please, the quicker that you help us help you get out of the city, the faster you're going to be able to do your own thing." And I think after that, he agrees. Okay. So we haven't talked about this before. It is nighttime, so it's definitely some time has passed. So the question is can they get out the gates at night, or do they seal out the gates at night? I think that's a 50-50 shot. This is a big city, so it's not completely silly to think that, there's night traffic that happens. I mean, throughout antiquity. Actually, it's really interesting. That's a bit of a tangent. Let's answer the question first, and then maybe I'll do a little tangent. So 50-50. Yeah, okay, so, yeah, so they don't have to wait till morning, because that would really kind of compress their timeline. So they can just get the thing out of here now. I mean, obviously they probably got the write-ups for that. So they throw thing on, Camille throws the thing on, Omer throws their new clericy robes on. And they pack up the cart, they hitch up the mule. So what I was going to say about that, about the gates being open, is that there's this really cool thing about old Roman city design, is that you'll see sort of like these curb bumps, like almost like speed bumps, and not quite. They're like curbing to keep people from going down those streets with cars, or would have been carts and wagons during that time, and horses, because they had different side streets that were blocked off for only human traffic, and they had areas where only wagons could go during night, because the idea was that that's when you do any of your shop or stores resupplies. Like, you don't do that during the day, because you have to be open and people have to be able to get through on the streets. So it's only like those deliveries would happen at night. So if those deliveries weren't immediately local within the city, people would have to come from outside of the city. So that's what all that to say is that with a large city, it makes sense in my mind that the gates are open most of the time, even during the night, because they're a large enough city to have guards, to have gate captains, to be able to manage that, and that it makes it much easier for large foreign trade to come in and out of Karjunton. Alright, so that's the setup. We can do it. I think we're just going to make this a little skill challenge. And this is really going to be, I guess, deception on their part. So she would have a 12 to that roll. Omer would have a 13. Camille would probably also have very close. He's going to be in the same sort of area too, because his background is a poet. But anyways, they've got that. They're going to bring it in. So yeah, let's do like a mini skill challenge. I feel like. And so let's do a little skill challenge here. Let's go back up to the top. All right. So I don't want this to take too long, so let's do like 3. And I'll get to set the DCs, and then I'll figure out what kind of skills I'm going to use for them. Okay, so an 11. Oops, not what I was trying to do. An 11, a 12. An 11, a 12, and a 10. Okay, so these are actually relatively easy DCs. And again, she's going to get help on all of these because she has other people with her that are in on the plan. So it was 11, 12, 10. So I think I'm going to make it where I can't use... I'm going to have to use a different skill or proficiency for all of these. I think just to make it a little bit more difficult, because otherwise it'd be a little bit too easy. So we're going to let Omer do the first one. He's going to use Deception. And again, like I said, everybody's got advantage on here. We should breeze through this. You know, famous last words, but we should just breeze through this. Yeah, okay, so success. Then a persuasion, maybe? So she'd have a +2 on this. Yeah, no problem. Alright, so let's do one more. And I think this is going to be a religion one. So we're going to ask them about religion. I mean, she has a +5 to that, so that shouldn't be a problem. About the cult stuff. That's an 11. A +5. Thank goodness. We have a +5. That's 11. DC was only 10, but still. Alright. Well, we make it out. Scot-free. And we are outside the city. We didn't really plan for anything like that, so I think... Honestly, I think we're probably just going to find a relatively nearby place to just kind of dump this thing. I mean, that sounds really dumb, but the wyrmling's going to be fine by itself. I mean, dragons don't exactly have a lot of natural predators. But what we do need to know is that... did anybody follow... Or, I say follow. What I want to know... I guess let's check. Did we... We're using probably pretty active persuasion. Or persuasion. Perception. To make sure we're not followed. So we'll use Lia's +1. We'll give her advantage. So 15. Let's see the DC for a perception check. Would be 14. So we succeeded. So we'll know, is somebody following us or not? I think it's 50-50 because we have groups that want this and would definitely be paying attention to what we did, even though we were trying to make the moves as fast as we could while they were still reeling and recovering. No. Alright, so we're pretty certain that nobody's following us. Yeah, so I think we take a little walk, maybe 20 minutes, maybe, you know, a league away, and probably dump this wyrmling off on the side of the road, and probably a little copse of woods or something. So they will have some sort of shelter while they heal, which probably won't be too long because they're a magical creature, I'm sure. Be able to fly. Even when it's not flying, it's still, unless it gets attacked by a bear or something, probably the biggest, meanest thing in the area. I don't think there are a lot of bears in this area, so probably gonna be fine. I mean, maybe if it runs across some wolves, but it can probably just kill them with its breath. Yeah, okay, I don't think there's... So the question is, does the dragon have any way to show its thanks? I mean, they took this job without, you know, getting paid from, because it's dragged wyrmling and it was captured and clearly didn't have anything. Does it have some way to show its appreciation? That's a natural 20. That's very good. Alright, so definitely going to give us some sort of edge. Let's see what that edge is. I have an idea if this doesn't work anyways. Bring a current plot thread to climax. Well, we just did that. We're getting rid of the freaking dragon. So... is there anything else this would help us resolve? One, two, three. Let's roll a d8. Let's see what kind of sticks out. 5. What was 5 again? 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, so this will bring the... No, this can't bring the stuff to an end at Split Valley. That's not gonna make sense. Something that would be helpful for us. Other than, you know, liberating the... yeah, I don't think... I think the way I'm going to interpret that is I'm going to give Lia another roll on her sworn off adventuring, because this is her, like, actively finishing off a quest, right? With her friends and loved ones. Nothing really bad happened to them. Everybody's fine. So I think that this would work for that. So I'm going to have her roll another wisdom save. So, alright, so 14. So 14. So 16 to 95. Again, she's slowly, and I think that's going to happen, like, as she continues to want to as she continues to complete adventures and kind of do things, I think that she's gonna get over this after having her initial sort of flashback. It's gonna give her an opportunity to sort of build towards that, which is good. You know, she's on her way. It's not always bad. It was either that or have the bounty hunters or the gas show show up. And that's all still gonna be around. Those people are not going away. They just haven't shown up yet. They're not going to be happy with Lia and Omer when they do. Alright, but we got this done. Really wasn't even worth writing down because we really zipped through that very quickly. Alright. Here's a good idea. We got that natural 20. I think we're going to have a name. We need a name for the dragon because I'm going to add that to the NPC. Having a dragon wyrmling seems like, as a potential ally, seems like a really good thing to just kind of have on around, and that's one's just kind of so I'll put that under family and friends at this point, because we're leaving Split Valley Oasis, so it doesn't make sense to put that character under Split Valley Oasis anymore, at least in my mind. And so Silver Dragon Wyrmling. And I'm going to say that their name is Rhymefire. That said Rimfire. I want Rhymefire, since they're a silver dragon. So we never know. That Wyrmling could come up again. Alright, well, we did technically complete that, so we're going to definitely get some experience from that. We didn't really get paid anyways. So we did help the Silver Wyrmling escape. These guys are still going to be a potential issue. Speaking of, does anything happen to them on their way back to Karjunton since they're outside the walls? No. Okay. So good. So they get back. I'm going to assume since they rolled so well at being able to get out and coming back in shouldn't be that much of a problem. And they're definitely going to remember them. They've only been gone like an hour or two. That's definitely the dead of night now. It's getting into the wee hours. So I think they drop everything back off at the church, or at the cultist place. Anything happen there? Let's go with this first one. No. Drop Camille off. Does anything happen there? Actually, well, let's roll for that first. Okay, so there's some sort of encounter that we have. I think it's my encounter table for Urban is... it's dungeon. Now, when we roll a 12, that's a dressing instead of an encounter, so it's, you know, a smaller deal. I don't think I need to... That's fine. Alright, so the way I do this, or the way I have it in my DM binder, is it's a 2d20 table, and then I take whichever one I like. Alright, 5 and 13. Could be a brawl, that's 5. And 13 is refuse thrown out on the street. Uh, I like the refuse better. So I'm just gonna give whoever's gonna roll basically the lowest dex check. So we'll go Lia, Omer, Camille. Alright. But even for Omer, that's still it's still 13. I mean, he may pass. Let's give him a DC. Yeah, he did pass. Good. So yeah, and they're going by, and somebody throws their chamber pot out the window, and just barely gets out of the way as all that liquid goodness spills across the cobblestones next to him, smelling rank. And they make it back to Camille's place. So they wanted to ask Camille for if he would swoop in and maybe buy up their contract, and that she'll just pay it off. So she's gonna make a persuasion attempt from Leah. I think she just automatically gets advantage because obviously she and Camille have a past. She didn't roll super great, so that's only a 10. Yeah, no, that was DC 20. He's like, yeah, I don't have the money to be able to pick up your guys. Sorry, I just can't. Does Leo want to give him the money to do it? They really want to be done with this community service is the thing. And the Colt's going to start pressuring them to get the thing. I guess I could ask the Colt. Colt already did him a favor, though. What if she gives Cabell the money? Will he then do it? Because we can sell that grease scroll. I mean, she'd really like to copy it into her book first, but that's going to cost money too. It's going to cost her like 50 gold. So obviously he can't buy the whole contract. Can he buy at least a day of the of their contract, so they can at least get some stuff done? Maybe get this grease scroll sold and be able to turn things around. Will he agree to that? He's a poet. I don't know. Again, he wants to. So I'm gonna give him a +3 on this roll. That's what we want to see. That's what we want to see. Perfect. Perfect. Alright, so natural 20. He's like, yeah, I can absolutely buy it for like 1 day. It's like, I just can't buy the whole thing. So he agrees to buy them for 1 day. They'll have to spend their money back at the inn again. So that's 5. And that's to pay for their inns and the donkey's board and all that good stuff. Now, I believe Grease... What level spell was Grease? Remember, it's a level 2, right? Oh, it's level 1. Okay. So, I believe and I'm talking out my booty a little bit. I'm pretty sure... Let me just go look at Wizard really quickly. And because you should get the thing that allows you to copy spells. Copying a spell into the book 2 hours and 50 gold. So yeah, she will take the time to do that, but she does have to buy the ingredients to do that. This is all. We're just gonna kind of, well, let's make it a one more thing. Does something happen before the muster? I'm just kind of fast forwarding things. Is anything gonna stop them from the muster and getting there and all that stuff? No. All right. So yeah, then she's gonna spend the 50 gold, so that'll get her down to 5 gold. They do the muster and everything. So she knows Greece now. And that means that she can sell the scroll. And I think a first level, let me look this back up, but yeah, I mean, it's a common item. Usually costs about 50 to buy. She'd try to sell it, probably starting at 50%. Give her a little charisma check, Leah. Obviously, always assume that Omer, unless I say otherwise, is pretty much at her hip. So she pretty much gets advantage on most of those kind of rolls. Nothing matters in this case. Her persuasion. So that's an 11. Does that beat a DC by any means? No. Alright. So she'll sell it for half, so she'll get 25 back. So it'll give her a total of 30 gold. But she is going to have that. Grease scroll is gone. She's going to keep the healing potion. Obviously. Omer will get his hit points back. New day has come. Got hired. Sold a little bit of our gold. Let's go ahead and... So he only paid for 1 day of her indenture. And, well... That's 4 GP. So obviously, you know, slowly on their way to repaying the debt. So that does give them the opportunity to try to sneak onto the grounds of the conservatory. So obviously this is now spring 54. April 12th. And I'm not really keeping track of the weather right now, just because we're in the city, and that's not going to have too much of an effect on really anything. For the most part. Alright, so they are going to try to break into the conservatory, and they need to do this because they also... So I'm just going to put down here, revenge for the wyrmling. I guess we should ask, do they get a letter, did they get a note from Arias? It's probably going to be the last time I check for anything from Arias. Because they spent the night. No? Alright, so Arias is suspiciously in the wind, so that's definitely something they're going to go and do now. So I think that they have the day, they rest, they make the muster, they make the most they can, they prepare what they can, and they are now going to try and break into Riverside Conservatory. Now, once they get into the conservatory, they've got a few things they got to do, right? They've got to figure out something about their research. See if they can find it first. See if what they can find out about Harold's death. Supposed death. We don't even know if he's actually dead or not. That's the thing. It's just a rumor. We've got to get the stupid relic back for the cult. We gotta figure out what the heck's going on with Arias. Is Arias alive now? So yeah, let's update our things real quick. Alright. For this things we got. So did Raya send a response note back for Lia and Omer? No. Alright, so we got the corpse thing. We know Rice isn't there. Alright. So we're going to go with so entering Riverside Academy, that's our big one, right? We need to access. Let's put that way. We gotta access. We're sneaking our way on. We still have those cloaks, remember? We still have those student cloaks. And the academy is open now. So we've got to get on there. We're going to and I think that's lower on the list. So find out what's going on with Harold. That's certainly higher on the list. And I think we have to try and find group's old research. And I think the very first thing we have to do on there, we have to get the cults. I don't think Lia wants to make an enemy of the cult. They helped us out when we needed it. We need to repay that debt. They seem like a bad enemy to have, depending on, you know, how dogmatic they are. And clearly they're kind of good guys. They're at least trying to help with the undead threat. Me too. So yeah, we have a number of things that we need to do. Now the thing is that after the morning muster, can we get all this done in one day? Probably not. Probably not. So I think, yeah, there's the morning muster happens, Camille buys their things, Camille's like, alright, well, see you guys later. And like, try not to die. To run and go throw on their student cloaks for the academy. And they will try to do their best to sort of disguise themselves. So I'm gonna let them do what would be sort of a disguise kit roll, which I think is gonna be I think it would just be a wisdom roll. So I think there's the two of them, but she's got a -1, but we're gonna have advantage on it. So they're trying to see, do they think that these outfits they've made for themselves are viable? So 17 to 16. So let's see what the DC is. Yeah, they're pretty sure, so that was a DC 10. They're pretty sure that this will tell us whether they think it's going to be passable or not. I'll give them a +3 because they know the mannerisms of the students. They've seen them there before. They know how to maybe hide their appearance just enough to get in. Yeah, at a full 20, yes, absolutely. And gives them an edge for getting in, which I'm just going to take as a point of inspiration for right now. So if we need it, we can get advantage on a roll that we might otherwise not be able to get advantage on. Alright, so we are going to go up to the front gates. Going to try to push our way in. I think this is very much what I would call like a charisma stealth check, right? Just trying to blend in, or you could also call it a deception check. It doesn't really matter either way. It's just going to be a +2 from Lia. No, she would have advantage. She has somebody with her. Again, doesn't matter. That's a 15. Does that meet the DC? Hopefully. Ugh. Nope, that's actually a DC 19. So they definitely get somebody sort of pulls them aside, I guess, pulls them aside to ask them a couple questions about things. So it's not immediately a fail. It's just somebody's sort of been like, "Hey, I don't recognize you. Who are you again?" Just kind of peels them off from sort of the queue that are coming in and out of the gates of the conservatory. And then I'm gonna let Omer pop up since he's the deception person and he has 13. So I think Lia can't give him advantage because Lia kind of has to hide her face a little bit because she's got this really noticeable scar that kind of helps her stick out. So he gets a +3 to this. Alright, I think with a 22, I mean, let's check, but I think he's going to be able to fast talk his way through here pretty quickly. Just barely. That's a DC 20 that I ended up rolling up. Ugh. So, but that 22 passes. And we're able to sort of fast talk his way through. It's like, oh yeah, you know, we're new transfers in from blah 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 blah, and you know, professor name rattles off some professor name from that department that's on their badge. You know, is looking for, you know, waiting for us to help with the special project and things. The guard's like, oh, yeah, go ahead, go head on in. All right, so they have access to the place. And so every time that they sort of make a move around here, again, we're going to have that D12. So they're inside. There's probably some area where they hold magical studies and hold those magic items. So let's make our way there. Does anything happen then? Okay, no. So they're in Karjunton, you know, they've got some books and things with them to pretend like, you know, they're supposed to be here. And they make their way into the catalog, the archives, basically, where they hold all these magic items. And again, they're familiar with this, and even doing things like researching elementals and dragons, and primordials, they definitely would have been in this collection before. They'd be familiar about where things are and how to get them out. Now, the question is, and this is just for us, did they, when they nabbed the cloaks, did they nab student cloaks or teacher cloaks? So let's just say, did they nab teacher cloaks? Yes. Okay. So they have faculty cloaks. And so I assume that if you're going to have some magical items, archives, you know, you don't leave that stuff alone. Right, there's definitely some sort of attendant, and again, they've gone through this process before. I guess is the attendant somebody that might recognize them? That's a good question. I think it's 50-50 because it's been a few years since they've been here. Working the attendants, all like that, is probably not like a full time. It's probably like a work study kind of thing. So it's usually probably like a student that's there. So they may not recognize them. No, they don't recognize them. Okay, good. So yeah, I think they make a request. Request for that. I'm just gonna have Omer would do it to the best of his ability, and obviously somebody who worked at the academy, at the conservatory, would be familiar with how to make these requisitions and things like that. And get that done. So, has anything changed about the requisition process since they were there? I'm gonna say that's pretty unlikely. So I'm gonna give them a minus. I'm gonna give them the full -5 because I just know institutions. It takes so long to change processes. So I assume that it's probably the same. Yeah. So there's been no change. He talked in. The kid's like halfway paying attention anyway. He's like, oh yeah. And here's the keys, unlock. Remember that, you know, to disable the you know, magic defenses and take it out. Of course, you're gonna have to sign the logbook. about who's taking things out. So yeah, obviously they sign a fake name, and then, well, here's a question: how petty are they? Does Omer sign the name of somebody he knows? No, absolutely not. Okay, good. Alright, so they sign a fake name, and they go grab the ring, and that's pretty easy. So they're supposed to bring it back. I assume they have to bring it back same day for lockup. Now, this is still in the morning, because they went right after muster. So they've got some time to get out of here. They've got some time. But ring acquired. They've got the ring. Perfect. Alright. So we've got the rings. Alright, so what's going on with Harold? So they're going to hit the library next. So they're going to make their move to the library from sort of like magical archives and holding area for items. Antiquities and all that good stuff. Alright, something going to happen before we get there? No. Alright, good. Alright, so we make it into the library, and is the librarian somebody that they might be recognized by? Or whoever's working the front desk with. I assume there's many librarians, just like Harold. Yeah, I think they come around the corner and they're like, oh crap. And hide back and they're like, oh, you know, that's X, Y, and Z is at the front desk, and they will definitely recognize us. So, alright, so is there another entrance maybe into the library, a different way they can kind of sneak around? No. Alright, so they can't get into the library proper, they don't think, without being seen by this person, as long as they're at the front desk. So they can either try to wait it out and wait for somebody to, like, come to the front desk for a question for the attendant. The attendant will have to leave the desk for it, and they can kind of sneak in. So they can play the waiting game. The longer they wait, the more likely it is somebody's going to recognize them while they're in here, though. That's not a good thing for them. Or, I think it makes sense that Harold or anybody who's on staff like that, just like they would have had as when they were on staff here, has an office. So they're probably going to go check what used to be Harold's office, which I assume they know where it is and they're familiar with, because they were knowledgeable of Harold and the institution. Alright, so they instead peel off and decide to go to Harold's office instead. So anything happened there? No, alright, so they reach the office that is or was Harold's. Does he still have a nameplate, or is it somebody else's name on the nameplate? Or is it his name on the nameplate? And I'm going to say, you know, we haven't heard anything from him. But there's a big difference between not having heard from somebody and somebody being dead. Right? And they haven't otherwise tried to contact him, but why would the guards outside be like, oh yeah, he's dead? Like, that's a terrible lie. So I think that's only -3 that it's got his name on here. Or, sorry, it should be -5. I think it's highly unlikely it has his name on here, but, well. No, it should just be -3. Okay, so it does have his name on here. So even at a 13, that's still a pass. So this office does have his name on it. I think they try the handle. Is it locked? Yep. Alright, so it's locked. Shit. And I think that's what Omer says. Shit. Well, neither of them are, because of their background, proficient with kind of getting through doors. I mean, they could force it. Obviously, if it's a office door, it's going to open into the office, so they can't do there's a funny thing you can do in dungeon delving if you're ever doing this in D&D or any other TTRPG. is always figure out which way the doors open and close. Because if you have a locked door but the door opens towards you, you can pretty much just knock the pins out of the hinges in the door and open it that way. And that's a lot faster than, or a lot quieter than trying to break down a door with an axe or a battering ram. So it's just keep it in mind. And also, if you're a DM, if you want to make a door that locks that the party's not supposed to get through easily, just make sure that it opens towards the way that you're trying to bar entrance from. Yeah. Anyways, so the door's locked to this office, but it's still got his name there. Oh, I guess when they jiggle the lock and try to do that, I guess they look around. I think they're spending enough time here that I'm going to make another roll for them. No, okay, so they're still safe. I think they just knocked. Did somebody answer the door? No, okay. So nobody's in the office. There's probably other offices that they could go ask somebody, but the likelihood that one of those people is going to be able to ID them is quite high. Do they think that they can... Does Lia have anything good for this? No. I was just trying to think, do they know of another way that they could get in without making a big ruckus, but she doesn't have any sort of like sleep or silence or anything that would actually be useful for doing that. So yeah, they're kind of stuck. They can either try to break in here, otherwise they're going to probably need to hide till after hours. So obviously they can't do anything with Harold right now. So I think they'll swing by the library on their way to Arias, who I think is their next target they're going to try to get to. But they'll swing back by the library first. Okay, nothing happens. Is that attendant still at the front desk? Or if they move somewhere so they can get in, or it's swapped out with another attendant? Can they get in, basically? Yes, okay. Alright, they pop in, they see that there's a different attendant at the front desk, and they're like, alright, let's go. I definitely have never seen this person before. And so they sneak in that way. We get some more music back on for us. Let's do this one. Alright. Perfect. Alright, so we get back in there. They sneak in there. Now they know, because Harold had told them previously, we figured this out very early on. Harold kept their research but hid it. But he did not tell them, Lia in her letter, where he hid it, just that it's here in the library somewhere, but it's hidden somewhere. And without Harold, I think it's probably unlikely that they know even where to start looking for this thing, honestly. I think they do their due diligence by going to sort of like the Dragons and Primordials section of research in the research library and just making sure that their research isn't actually on the shelf. So is their research on the shelf? I think this is wildly unlikely. -5. Alright, a 10. Which unfortunately just means that there's a scene interruption. So they're searching for their list. Obviously, this is a very dangerous thing to do, so they're trying to do it very quickly because they're just well-known, sort of disgraced academics in this field of research, and they're literally in that field of research's corner of the library looking through specifically research of the type that they used to do. But there's an interrupt scene. Okay, so who's getting the interrupt here? 17. A new NPC. So a new NPC. Well, we have our D100 table. for NPCs, so let's do that. Even though that might be kind of wonky since we're doing this in a very specific setting. As to who kind of comes up to us. Alright. I rolled a 73. Interesting. So it's clothing owners. So cobblers, clothiers, drapers, haberdashers, hatters, mercers, tailors, etc., etc. So why would that person be in sort of like the primordial... Why would somebody who has anything to do... Maybe it's just somebody looking for research on that topic. And sees these people... Like, this is probably somebody who's like in town close, is like asked to see them, interrupts them while they're... It's like, I'm sorry to interrupt them. Can you tell me where the, you know, area is for, you know, weaving and things like that, those sort of crafts arts things, where that section is. Whatever that is in the Dewey Decimal System, I don't know off the top of my head. Which is bad form, since I used to work at a library, I guess, many years ago. But I worked in the fiction section, so I never really learned the Dewey Decimal section area very much. So yeah, this is sort of a town person they're going to have to deal with. Can they point them in the right direction? I think that's... I'll just let them make an intelligence check. I'm going to give her advantage on this because she's familiar with the library. Oh yeah, that's... With her natural intelligence, that's already an 18. So Leah's like, oh yes, of course. It's sort of, go down this way. Go down, you know, 6 stacks, take a left. It should be on your right, towards the middle. Oh, okay, thank you. So while she's doing that, we'll ask the same question again. Just, do they find the research? That's 7 minus 5. That's definitely a no. Yeah, it's definitely a no. Alright, so they don't find any information. So their stuff's not on the shelf. But in this idea, I guess this will just be like a full-on investigation at this point. So they just got interrupted. So somebody screwed off. So I guess we should roll for the opportunity, because they're going to have to spend time looking. They're looking, at this point, they're going to look for anything that seems out of place here. So, does anything happen before then? Yep. Alright. Well, there's an encounter of some type while they're doing this investigation, which I assume, being a 12, that means it's not a combat, which is good. I think the easiest thing to do is just to use our urban dressing. Again, roll 2 d20s, take the one I like. Even though this is inside. Ooh, neither of those really make sense. Because that would be organized crime or gang activity, which we know there's not a lot of... There's basically no crime in the city in general. That's why her little brawl with manslaughter is like a huge deal. Probably. It's probably huge news. I do like that there's a beggar in there. There's somebody, sort of a beggar that kind of comes up and is rattling their coins, you know, somebody. If, like I said, I used to work in the library, and homelessness, unfortunately, is a relatively large problem in those sorts of institutions. Less so on a closed academic thing, so maybe this is somebody, a student kind of bum that's kind of in here. Who's probably not supposed to be in here. That they kind of come across. Okay, what is sort of the reaction of this person, I think? I'm going to roll 2d6 for that. I think I have a reaction table in here. Let me make sure. I don't. But 10's good. 10 is a good. That's a positive one. So they're kind of helpful. All right, this is kind of a helpful figure. Like, obviously, this person, we probably kind of stumbled across this person who's probably kind of making their home in the back corner. But they're happy to us, so we'll ask them directly. Hey, do you know anything about this research? You know, perhaps you know of a person whose name I just blanked on. Harold. Ugh, sorry. Do you know anything about the recent, hidden books in this area that Harold might have moved things around? So I'm gonna make them a persuasion check again. Have advantage, of course, with the +2. Yeah, with the 21. I mean, we'll roll it, but hopefully yes. Man, again, just barely. That's again another 20 DC. All right. Kind of hard to convince. They're kind of standoffish. Like, I don't know who you people are, and I don't know what you know about Harold and what Harold's doing, and thinks that it's going to bring them. This beggar thinks it's going to bring them a lot of trouble. Like, look, you can either tell us, or we're going to have to get the librarian involved. We don't want to get the librarian involved, but we will get the librarian involved, and then you're going to have to look for a new place to live. You can't help us. Okay, so that part's successful, but does this person actually know anything about it? No, they don't, unfortunately. And that's what they say, so I'm going to say that they have enough. They were persuasive, so I'm not going to give them some sort of insight to see if this person's lying. They pretty much think that this person's telling the truth, this beggar's telling the truth, so they're just kind of like, alright, just screw off then. Alright, so they're going to make an investigation check. I don't know who's probably got the better investigation. I assume Lia, since it's intelligence based and she has a +5. Oh, yeah, it's 22. Alright, so definitely successful. I mean, we'll double check, but yeah. Definitely successful. That was only DC 11. So, very successful. Do they find anything, though? In my mind, in my head canon for this, even though it hasn't come up yet, I think that Harold seems like the sort of person who would do a lot of, like, cryptic cipher kind of thing, because clearly he's a person who's in charge of keeping information, even if that information is something other people want to censor, which he clearly doesn't agree with. That's why I say he kept the research, because it's still important on its own merit. So I think that there's a high likelihood we're going to find a clue. I don't think we're going to find the thing. But let's just ask, do we find the thing itself? Do we find the research? No. Alright. So that means that I think we're going to find a clue. So does Harold leave us a clue? Oh man, the rolls today are killing me. Every time I think we're going to get ahead, we don't. Alright. So, if we're going to find any lead on that, we either have to know somebody else who's in cahoots with Harold, which means talking to one of the other librarians, or the lead for this is going to be in Harold's office. Well, we said we were passing through, and we've spent enough time here, so we're going to go see if we can get to Arias. So let's go ahead and, does anything happen before we get to Arias' office? No. Alright. Or where we think Arias' office should be. So again, is Arias' office still there? Since Harold's office is still there, I'm going to say that it's likely. Because even if Harold's dead, which again we still don't know, or missing or whatever, they haven't moved his office around. And so probably if something has gone on with Arias, his office would still be there. But let's see. So I'm giving him +3. Yeah, 19. So they're at Arias' office. I guess they would give it a knock. Does somebody answer the door? Usually alright, so that's an interrupted scene. Do I want to do? Yeah, let's do an interrupted scene. That's fine. Alright, so they're like walking up at the door. They're probably having quite a conversation. Like, do we knock? We're just gonna go in, and that's when this is gonna happen. Whatever this is. 7. Some sort of ordinary hazard or obstacle. Okay, that makes sense in my mind. I think that they hear people coming down the hallway and they have to find some place to hide. Because they know that if somebody's coming down this hallway, that's highly likely that it is some member of the faculty, and they are much more likely to be ID'd by a member of the faculty than they are of any of the students. Because the students, right, kind of pass through the conservatory. And so they haven't worked here in years, so most of the student body wouldn't probably know who they were. At least not, maybe by name, but probably not by face. But they did work, again, Leah's worked here for over 10 years before she kind of went off adventuring and did other things as an elf. So there's a high likelihood that there's going to be somebody from that time period who's going to be able to recognize them within the past 10 years. All right. So yeah, they go and do a hide. Well, we're going to take that natural 20 all day. They're like, oh yeah, they're super familiar with this place, so they probably see that there's like a janitorial closet or something like that, or like a cupboard somewhere, and they just kind of slip into it, or find a thing that allows them to basically stand having some fake conversation with their backs to people moving in the hallway, and very casual, kind of going by. So that's not a problem. And those people pass by, they turn around and go back to the door. Oh, we were asking, somebody answered, right? We knocked, correct? Well, I guess somebody would have opened the door during that time if they did. I think that. Well, let's just roll again for a yes or no. No, nobody came to the door. All right. Again, is there an easy way for them to get in if they don't know if it's locked? I guess they can check. Is it locked? Yeah. Alright, is there another easy way to get into this? Like, are they maybe half offices, so like the walls don't go all the way up? Maybe they can just kind of climb over one of the little curtain walls or something? Can they see a very easy way to get in here, other than through the locked door? 9, so no. No, but that's supposed to give us some sort of edge. What might be the edge we get from that? It's going to help us. 8. Lose, gain, or fumble a resource. Okay. Alright, well, I think the gain a resource. I think the resource is just going to be the key. I think they do one of those things where they look around and they're like, crap. Because neither of them can pick locks, so they're like, obviously if we try to break down the door, people are going to notice that. This is the second time we've run across this problem. Yeah, let's say that they hung in the custodial closet and there's just a key ring in there. There's like the custodian's key ring up on a hook, and they're like, oh, yoink. We'll just take the keys. So that'll give us a way to go in. Here's a question though: are any of those keys labeled? Because I'm gonna say probably not. Are any of the keys labeled -3? Nope. So that could take them forever trying to get into that door. Do they want to risk that? Do they want to risk trying to do that with Arias? Do they want to wait in the night? If they wait in the night, they can do that very easily, but they're going to have to find some place to hide because they're pretty much at a dead end now. They also got to get this ring out of here. So, yeah, that kind of puts us at a to-do. And so, yeah, I think they're going to, at this point, they're going to have to find some place where they can just kind of hang out, whether that's a a greens area, a common, someplace that they can hang out. Maybe it's in the library where they can hang out. I mean, long enough to people to move out, so they'll have some less people moving around the campus, so they'll be able to sort of break into things. So I think they do that. I think that this is very much like any other college situation. If you go to a library or something like that, is that you will come across, or at least that was always my experience in college, you will be surprised at the amount of people you come across and where they are just asleep on campus. So I think that they can take a full long rest because they'll need it, because they're planning to get up in the night to sort of finish this off. So, is there anything that's going to stop them from doing that? I think the best way to do that is I'm going to run just a gauntlet real quick. We'll roll 3d12 to see if anything happens, as we just kind of hand wave the rest of the day. See if they get any interactions. No. Yes. Okay. So somebody comes up to them again. Well, they're tooling about again. I say that they probably spend most of their time in or around the library because that's sort of their main thing that they want to do. So let's do our NPC. Oops, going the wrong way in my own binder. There we go. One page too far. All right, so let's find out who we got. 32. Oh, so that's imprisoned or jailkeeper. Well, obviously not going to be imprisoned, and probably not actually a jailkeeper, but that is one of those things that we can interpret it a little bit more broadly. So I think that they get caught up by, because they're waiting for the end of the day, basically. And I think somebody has probably started coming to look for that ring, because it's not back in holdings for the night. So somebody's come across them. Again, Omer signed a false name, and that person clearly didn't recognize who they were. And we determined, because we rolled so high, that they weren't even really paying attention. So they've signed this ring out to somebody, and I think they probably say that yes, we said that there was a difference, that obviously there was a faculty member cloak in that area, which means that if somebody comes looking for it, and somebody's in the library and I think comes up and talks to them, like, hey, do you know somebody, you know this person from your department looking at your cloak? Do you know this person? And we need to get an item back from them from the archives before the end of the day. We're trying to find them. Oh, you're looking for, Professor such and such. So I think Omer's going to try to sort of push them off. Oh, I think they're doing experiments in blah blah blah, some section. So again, Leah's helping him, so he gets advantage on it, but it is definitely Omer who's doing it. And we'll use that natural 20 every time. Yeah, obviously it was like, oh, have you checked the labs down at blah 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 wing? And she's like, oh no, let me go check them. Alright. And then we have one more thing, is they're sort of holding up and then everything's kind of shutting down for the night. So they do their best to sort of sneak around and hold things up. And let me put this down here, that we have the... So we have it. So what we do have is that we have the key ring. So this is going to be Riverside Academy. And that's where we're gonna do it. So I think that makes this, rather than before we start rolling off and we really start uncovering all the big things, we've already hit past 2 o'clock, 2:15 in my time zone. And I think if we jump into any more than this, it's definitely going to be an hour or more of doing it. So while this might be a little bit of a shorter session than we usually run, we're gonna have a big kickoff next time, as we figure out what we can do at Riverside Conservatory, get out of there, get the ring back to the cultists. Maybe we'll get some answers about anything. And hopefully, if all things all go well and we actually get some sort of breakthroughs on some of these other, core critical plots that we have going on, I think that'll be a good time for us to actually maybe go up to level 2. We've done quite a bit of fighting, we've done some investigation, we've done some talking, we've closed off the wyrmling thing for the most part. I mean, we still have an issue with Norcruth and Gast, who could show up at any time, as long as we're still in Karjunton to exact their revenge for screwing that all up for everybody. So everybody's going to be mad at us. But we've also got to find more information about Harold and all that good stuff. We're going to find more of those answers. That's our plan for next time, is to find those answers as we snoop around Riverside Conservatory at night. And hopefully get everything. Let me knock up Omer's hit point. Omer's good on hit points. Leah's good on hit points. Wait. Omer, you don't. Yeah. Okay, that's right. So yeah, that's the situation we're at. So that's next time. Now I will tell you guys that obviously we do not. I shouldn't say obviously. We will not have a stream next Sunday. I talked about it in a few videos before this one, but my games that were on Thursday night originally were Sunday afternoon games, and unfortunately for the show, fortunately for me and the group, we're going back to Sunday afternoons now. I mean, we did it with all throughout COVID. We kind of switched everything out and did different things, and now things are relatively back to normal. And somebody's schedule who did have a big thing that they were doing on Sundays instead has now cleared up, so we're going to head back to Sundays, which means that this show can no longer be on Sundays. So I'm trying to figure out what the time frame is going to be for that. It's either going to be Thursday evenings or Saturdays, and I think I'm leaning towards Thursday evenings, which is the time that we used to play D&D. Just because, it's kind of boring for you guys, but as far as streaming has been going, is that Thursday nights tend to get more eyeballs on the stream, which is what we want. To get more people who can discover this and enjoy this, and there's a built-in audience with the show, live stream D&D show that will not be named, also kind of floats in that same time period. So even if we splinter off and only get a couple people from that show, or when there's an episode that they take a break and we're on, we can get some more people involved here, which would be a lot of fun, I feel like, and hopefully people will enjoy that. So I'll probably move this over to Thursdays. I don't think it's probably going to be this Thursday, though. So I may stream on Thursday. I don't know what I'm going to stream. We're supposed to have a D&D game, but we'll see. Turns out that our DM is actually going to end up being on call, which I didn't think they were going to this Thursday. So if they have to walk away from the table, they have to walk away from the table, or we have to cancel D&D. It could happen. So if we could stream on Thursday, that's to say, we could stream on Thursday. If that happens, it won't be this, though. And we'll probably pick this up the next Thursday. And so I'm trying to do maybe some other things for the secondary sort of impromptu streams. I haven't streamed any video games yet, so we might do something like that. That's been a lot of fun. Or we might we did the one-shot thing earlier this week. That would be really fun to do more of those. I think people really enjoyed them. Gets a little bit more interaction with everybody, which is a lot of fun. So we might do some more of those, might talk about some other things, maybe just random D&D stuff, maybe just chatting, maybe play some video games. I don't really know yet. Still trying to figure it out, because I want to do something that doesn't take me as much thought process to try to put things together and try to keep things as nice and flowable as the solo RPG stuff is. It's a lot of fun. I really enjoy doing it, both on camera and what little prep work I do outside of what's not on camera. But I just it does take a lot, and it takes a lot of cognitive load, honestly, to kind of do what I can to try to make this entertaining, as I also talk about it. So I want to look for, maybe if we do streaming on Saturdays, those impromptu sort of Saturday streams, then maybe I do something that doesn't take as much work to kind of get going, because I'd like to enjoy my weekend too as well. Not that I don't enjoy streaming, it's just, there's a lot of work that goes into it too. It's a work of it's gratifying work, and it's work I enjoy, but at the end of the day, it's still work. So that's sort of the setup right now. I still have a vlog that needs to go live on the website. Hopefully I will get that sorted early this week. I thought I was going to get to it yesterday, but I just didn't have a chance. It's already typed up and everything. I just need to lay in some graphics and do the sort of the final gloss up on it. It should be up. It's about overland travel, so it'll be a lot of fun. If I remember, I'll definitely tweet it out, so you guys should follow over on Twitter. If you're not, at Red Ragged Fiend. If you want to watch all the previous episode stuff about this adventure, if you want to figure out who Harold is, why we're in Karjunton, why Norcruth keeps showing up, the slaver's illness, all that good stuff, all these things that we have all these irons we have in the fire. You want to get the 411, that's the easiest way to do it, is jump over to YouTube, and we've got everything documented. The episode 10, the one right before this episode, just went live yesterday. Went up yesterday. So, jump over, give it a check out, subscribe there. Obviously, subscribe to the stream if you're interested in doing that, or just watch the VODs here. That's also great. You can follow me on Twitter, follow the blog over at redraggedfiend.com. Also have some things for sale. They're always pay what you want, so you can get them for free. Download them from DriveThruRPG. Just look up Red Ragged Fiend, you'll find that stuff too. And that's it for me, I think, this time. And next time, it's going to be, it sounds like Thursday, so it's going to be about a week. I may do something fun on Thursday. Again, a lot of things are kind of up in the air right now as my schedule kind of shifts around, so I'm not quite sure how everything's going to land. But we're definitely going to have something, if not this Thursday, definitely next Thursday. Also maybe this coming Thursday, also maybe this coming Saturday, just kind of depending how the stream and everything kind of works out and my schedule and everything. But this has been a lot of fun. Thanks again for coming with me on the 11th episode. And finally, we're getting into the conservatory. We're finally getting into the meat. I'm really excited to learn more about what's going on, as I'm sure you guys are too. So, but that's going to be it from me, and I will see you guys next time. Alright guys, bye.